Hello and welcome to another Beer Clipper video. This video follows the process as I paint and then put onto a diorama Finbul, who is my D&D character for my fortnightly, even not bi-weekly, fortnightly D&D campaign that's run by Miller for Miller's Marvellous Miniverse, which you should definitely go and check out. His channel is absolutely brilliant. And also Citadel Bladeworks, which was one of my recommendation Mondays recently, so also go and check them out. Anyway, that's an aside. This video is me doing the painting job and then basing up onto a diorama Finbul, and then his sister Brillette, who we have just rescued in the campaign that we're playing. So there'll be a bit of music at the beginning, and then at the end there'll be a bit more talking. And I do put chapters, so if you want to skip to the talking, then that's fine, obviously. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit different, but I had a lot of fun, and I'm really, really pleased with the diorama. And it's great to be able to see physically the character that I'm playing. So pop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. I do reply to them all. I'll stop rambling. Enjoy the video. So now Finbul is painted, what I'm doing is I'm going to work on the base. As you can see, I've got some MDF, and I'm going to go for quite a large scenic display base because he is very much a display piece. So what I'm doing here is I'm spreading some PVA over the whole thing, and just out of shot, I'm coming into shot now. I have used my Green Stuff World roller for pavement, which is one I've not used before. Funnily enough, I've had it for a while, obviously, but I've not used it. So what I'm going to do is he is going to be making his way along this pavement, and I have this fantastically shaped tree kind of thing, which I'm going to soak in PVA very shortly, and then that will get stuck down here, and he is going to be sauntering along the track. So I'm not actually going to worry about the rough edges of the air dry clay where it's on the base, because this will all get covered over with other scenicking and what have you. So all I'm going to do is just take away the overhang. I've also done the other idea for preventing warping on this as well. This is the second thing I'm trying it on. So yeah, there probably will at some point be a link in the description below showing that off. How I do that, basically, it's masking tape, taping it down to the base. So yeah, so I'll let that dry now. And as I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak that in some PVA to make it so that it doesn't die. So I will just dip it and then hang it, literally that, and then yeah, that will then get stuck on here either with air dry clay or with modelling compound. I'm not sure which. I've decided to put PVA over the whole thing just to seal it as well, because that's not a bad idea with MDF. So yeah, really excited about this, really happy with how Finbul himself has turned out, and I think that this is going to look really good. And there's a space, he's going to be coming on here, which means there's a space there for maybe another model at some point, depending on how the campaign goes. There may be another model there. And there it is. So I dipped it in basically in watered down PVA, and I've hung it up from the edge of my bench on one of these. Basically it's a laundry rack thing, and I've put a pod underneath just to catch the drips. So I'm heading out now, so I better leave that, and hopefully by the time I come back that will be nicely gone off and will now be hardy enough to use on this display piece. So this is dried with its PVA, so it's a bit harder wearing, though of course this is only a display piece, not working, not going to be gamed with, so it's less of an issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some PVA and some air dry clay, and I'm going to build up the sides of this with air dry clay, and then press that in and glue it in as well, so that I have a mound on either side. So this is a sunken path that Finbul is walking along, and the tree is on the top of it looking over. So PVA, because as I keep saying, air dry clay is not adhesive. Even to dry air dry clay you need to provide glue. So we'll put some PVA there, and then I'm going to start to build this up on both sides with the clay. So I'll get that done and pop some music on. And there we are, happy with that. So I'm going to wash my hands again and let that dry. So the air dry clay has dried quite substantially because it's been
days since I looked at this last time. And what I'm now going to do, I've got this very separated grey paint which I need to stir properly, so I might need to do that before I actually use it. But I'm going to paint the stones in grey, in a light grey. And the reason for this is I actually am going to try to do something a bit different to what I normally do, which is I'm going to try to pick out different stones, different colours, and make it a really colourful kind of display. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a sniffle. So if I sniff, I apologise. I'm trying not to. But anyway, so yeah, so a light grey base like this. This is the grey paint that I normally use for dry brushing on stones. What I'm figuring is it will give it a nice solid colour to then I can come along and can pick out different and tint different colours onto the different tiles and make it a little bit interesting. And it will be a nice colour to go between the tiles and for any that I don't decide to not tint. Sorry, sniff again. So there we are. So that's going to dry. Once that's dried, what I'll do is I'll come along and I will do the sand onto the banks, and then crack on with finishing off. I don't think it's going to take all that long to do, but I am going to leave that to dry overnight because the next step will be putting sand on, and I want to control where that sand goes. Grey paint's dried, left that overnight, so now it's time to do the sand and paint trick. So I'll do one side on camera. It's a bit fiddly, not very easy access. Basically, this is my terrain paint. There is a link in the description below of how I make this, but fundamentally it is just PVA, house paint and water. It works really, really well as a paint on primer, and it also works really, really well how I'm doing it when you want to add sand and texture. So you paint it on quite thickly, don't be shy. There we are. And then over here I have sifted builder's sand. It's not special sand. It isn't from the beach though. If you do get stuff from the beach, you really do need to make sure that you wash it very, very thoroughly, because it has lots of living things in it. This has been washed by the company it's bought from. You scatter that on like that, and then empty it off like that, and that's done. So I will just clean off the base as well. So in this case, I've actually missed some here. So what you can do there is just put a bit more on, don't matter. So there we are. That is how I go about doing my texturing of my ground. When that's dry, I'll come back and I'll put another coat of the same terrain paint on it to give it the colour. Now of course you can make terrain paint in any colour you want, because, well, it's just house paint. So if you can find a house paint, you can make that terrain paint up like that. So you can be really flexible in terms of what colour of soil you're going to have, and it gives a great result. So I'm going to do this side now, which is going to be even more fiddly, so I'll do that off camera, and then I will show you what it looks like once I have put a second coat of brown paint on it, and then we'll get stuck into the detailing. So for the past couple of nights I've been painting up the path, and originally it was just going to be stones, but as I've gone on I've decided this is actually a tiled path, which I think is going to look very nice. This was a bit of an experiment, it could have gone very, very wrong, but I'm rather pleased with how that looks. So you can see there that I've got basically boat varnish, yacht varnish, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put at least one, if not two, coats of yacht varnish over this to hopefully make it nice and shiny. And once this is dried, then I'll be able to come in and do the flocking and all of the detail around the edge. So hopefully this works, because if it doesn't, I'll be a bit sad, because it's taken me days to do this. Not lots of time each day, but yeah, it's a bit of a dull process, dotting colours on. So I'll apply that now, at least one coat, if not two, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done, and then we'll finish this off. We're nearly finished now on this. I am so happy with how this has turned out. It just looks beautiful, really like shiny tiles
for the path. So what I'm going to do now is the last few bits. I'm going to leave this mainly bare. I want it to look like a really colourful path going through quite a dead area. So what I have over here is some Geek Gaming Scenics dead grass tufts. I've got these wheat tufts that look really good as dead grass as well, and just for a little bit of colour I've got these blue and kind of pinky tufts as well from Serious Play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them in place where I want them to be on the sides of the path, and then the next thing will be to glue Finbul on, and then we'll be done, which is really cool. So I'm going to put a couple of tufts at the front here. I don't want to have too much at the front because I don't want to obscure Finbul. So I'll make use of these tufts, and what I do, I won't film all of this because it's pretty repetitive, but what I do is I always dip tufts into a little bit of PVA just to help them adhere and stick, because while they are self-adhesive, it's not always the most adhesive thing ever in the world. So I always have a little bit of PVA and just use that to help. So a couple of dead grass tufts, and then what I'll do is I'll go along, do the Serious Play. I've got my bradawl because these actually poke through, so let me show you how that works. So we'll poke a hole here into the what's it. There we are, we've got a hole there. Pull one of these out, and I will then dip that in PVA and press that onto the hole, and hopefully that will stick. They're not the greatest things in the world, these JTT scenery products tufts, but this isn't a gaming piece, so it's fine. So anyway, so I'm going to crack on with this, and I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like when it's done and when Finbul's stuck on. Alright, there we are. So I've done the base, as you can see, we've got some tufts, it looks great. And what I'm now going to do is get Finbul in place, and that's just going to be done with some super glue, and I may need to use some spray because I don't have very much time now, because I've just had a lovely afternoon nap because I'm an old man now, and I need to get down and go and have some time with Rosie. So if this doesn't stick quickly, I'll use a little bit of activator on him. But yeah, there we are, that's done now, that's finished. So I will get this to stick, and then I'll take some pictures as well. Yeah, really pleased, actually, really pleased with how the base has come out. It's absolutely wonderful. So here is the other attempt, the other one which I did, which is using double-sided tape. So I've just finished. Hopefully everything is dry. What I'm doing is I'm coming along, I'm having to use a scraper to actually get in, as you can see. Partially because of slightly messy application by me, but also because this is so much closer to the base and is actually very firmly stuck in. So I'm going to need to use this to extract it from the base, to separate the two. I'm going to do that now off camera because it's a bit awkward, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So it's time to add the finishing touch to this. Sadly quite warped, but whatever, it will be fine. And that is, in the last session we've finally saved Brulette, Finbul's sister, and I have just, in a very quick burst of enjoyment, painted her up. Now this is a miniature. I will try to remember to put a link to it from my mini factory, but this is a miniature which has painted up superbly, just beautifully, with very little effort really, to be honest. Let me just zoom in a little bit more on her. So a lot of fun painting her up. Really did it in a couple of days, and she looks absolutely perfect. She's supposed to be a bit playful looking. She's going to be joining our party as an NPC and is a healer, I believe. So yeah, a little bit of fun. So that is the piece finished. So now I will take some nice pictures, and then we'll wrap up the video. Pretty pleased with how that looks. Pretty pleased indeed. really fun project, purely from my imagination. Just great fun to do, and to have not just done Finbul but to have done Brulette, his sister, as well is a really awesome thing, because when I started this, Brulette was merely a part of a story arc that I'd come up with when I first created the character, and I had no idea that I would ever manage to actually rescue her. And as I said in the intro, just managed to. And actually last night, as I'm filming this, was the first game that we played where Brulette was actually the NPC, and she is absolutely awesome. Brilliant fun. So yeah, really cool. So I hope you enjoyed this, a little bit different and a little bit of a different output, but a lot of fun for me, and hopefully a lot of fun for you to watch. Hopefully this inspires you to just create things for the joy of it, not just because maybe you need to play with it or you need it for a game, but just create stuff because you want to look at it. That's a really cool reason as well. So I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.